We have a few more sessions before Mark Schweiker comes up. We have two speakers here. The first one, Robert Cormack, is the Executive Director of Bucks County Economic Development Corporation, as well as the Bucks County Industrial Development Authority. He's also the Chief Operating Officer of the Federal Lands Reuse Authority of Bucks County. He's been involved in lots of relocation jobs, expansion jobs, as well as the area of retention. Both the gentlemen today will talk a little bit about how these jobs stay within the county that they both respectively come from. And Gary Smith I've known a little bit longer because of my travels and work throughout Chester County. You're probably wondering why in your package you see a brochure there from historic Kent Square. Well, that is one of his many successes, taking a depressed area and turning it into a vibrant town, a vibrant small borough that is actually now a destination point for many visitors. And Gary currently serves as the Chester County Economic Development Council's president as well as CEO. He's secured millions and millions of dollars in funding, hundreds of projects that range from workforce development to urban revitalization. And also, he'll talk about retention of jobs. I think, Robert, when we start off today, we'll give each gentleman about 15 minutes each, and then they can ask some questions and answers, and we'll head to our last session with Mark Schweiker.
Thank you. Thank you. By the way, I just want to let everyone know, he just got a $20 bill from Gary outside to put that brochure in here. He does that all the time to us. Real quickly, the Bucks County Economic Development Corporation, and from a student standpoint, you should realize there's different agencies out there promoting economic development. You've heard of them today. We're a 501c4. Private nonprofit corporation. We're not associated with county government. Keep that in the back of your mind at all times. We're not part of government. Thank God. And that's a real important component when you look at the private sector that wants to either expand or relocate within the particular county you're talking to, because they have a different perspective when they look at you as a private sector establishment. Even though we are nonprofit, okay, and we make six figures every year, and we do over $100 million worth of loans every year, but they only have a staff of 4 people. They understand that we're like the private sector. We are at the baseline. You've heard different groups today, from Select Philadelphia, which is way up here, and they deal with those big up here type of companies. And the Itonia that deals with those type of companies. We're right at the level. We are right at ground level, ground zero. We deal with the manufacturing firms that are located within our county. Gary has Chester County, Carmen Italia has Montgomery County, and so on and so forth. You need to understand that in Bucks County, there's 25,000 businesses. 1,600 are manufacturing firms. Okay? 95% of the businesses, the manufacturing firms in Bucks County have less than 25 employees. Big, big thing to think about. Less than about 90% of the businesses that are in the county, total businesses, are less than 25 employees. So you're dealing with small business issues. And I'll just jump on my soapbox real fast, and then I'll jump off of it again. The stimulus package that we now have in front of us, if you really do a complete analysis, does absolutely nothing for small business. There is not one program that that stimulus package has that addresses the small business issues. And I'll give you a couple examples. In the last 2 months, we've had over 15, almost 20 to 25 companies looking for working capital. I don't have to tell you about the banking institution. You all see it, you all know about it. Companies can't borrow money anymore. Liquidity levels is low, ratios don't match. As students, you should know that as business majors. Looking at loan ratio values. All these things are in play now. The company says, wait a minute, I have a great contract. But the company that gave me the contract has decided that, no, we're not making the 30% prepayment, and we're not going to make any payments until after the product has been delivered and successfully proven it works. Somebody's got to float that capital. Bank isn't going to do it. Mr. Jones, we've got your inventory and receivables tied up. We've got all your business assets from a building and land standpoint tied up. And by the way, we've got your wife and you personally guaranteeing it. There's nothing left. You can't have any more money. Okay? Stimulus package is great, and I'm on the Workforce Investment Board. I'm still on my soap opera, right? Okay. And by the way, we had a dissertation from our executive director, and I think she did a great job. And I think it was wonderful that we get all this money for stimulus, for workforce investment, for workforce development, for workforce training. And my comment, within a room of about 45 people, I said, who are we going to train if you can't supply money to the private sector and get the private sector to start to hire people and bring back jobs? We're throwing money away. And I think the Workforce Investment Board is great, and I support it. But if there's no one to hire, what good is it? Okay? So on that note, let me just go back to the fact that there's a private nonprofit economic development corporation. We're involved with different processes in the county in trying to attract and retain. And in my organization, we look, and my board of directors look at job retention as one of the most vital components in the economic development process that you'll ever see. And we get the bejesus kicked out of us in southeastern PA and in the counties and even in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania when you look at the national agencies and with area development, site selection groups that say Texas did this and Wisconsin did this and South Carolina did this. And I'm going, who cares? Look at the types of jobs they bring into their area and look what we've done in southeastern PA in retaining the quality jobs that we have. That to me is more important. I think a great component that Tony brought up before is productivity. And his numbers are right on target. We're more productive now than we ever were before. We have less labor. Duh, something wrong there? I think it's great. I also am a firm believer that you have to have a diversified economic base in the area in which you live. And if you don't, you're completely out of target. You've got to have a strong manufacturing component within your community, whether it's building widgets or whether it's doing biomedical. Total, okay? If you're going to live in a community that just wants housing and retail, forget it. Because all you have to do is look at the economic recessions that we've had, go back and look at the statistics of all the different counties that are heavily dominated by housing and retail, and you'll see the unemployment rate go to the roof. Bucks County, because it has such a diversified base, has been able to weather the economic development storms of the 80s, 90s, 2000, and now. Very well. We have an unemployment rate of about 6.2%. 4 months ago, 5 months ago, it was about 4.2. You were about 3.8. 3.8% to 3.8% to 4.2%. I'm going to tell you right here now, and I know you people in workforce development like it, we're at full employment. Period. You can't hire anybody. But in today's marketplace, 2 examples. Manufacturing firm, machine shop, specialty machine shop. He has 2 openings. He has 95 applications. He's got a good list and a bad list. He's happier than you can imagine. We had a software company in today. She has 7 applications. Or she had 7 jobs. She now has 3 additional jobs she's on the market. After 1 ad in the beginning of the week, she has 45 applications. And she's saying, that's good. So for the companies that are expanding and growing right now, this marketplace is fantastic. If you go back 8 to 12 months ago, this marketplace was the worst you could be at. I was scared to death when a company would come to Bucks County and say, we want to locate there. And we want to bring in 500 jobs. And I used to run back into the corner of my office and start to cry and say to my assistant, help me, where do we find these people? And I couldn't find the Workforce Investment Board level because of the skill sets. And that's going to bring me back to another one of my soap ops, and I'm going to tell you right here now, the educational system in this area and in this country needs to be revamped. I believe every elementary, junior high, and senior high school teacher and administrators need to understand what it is to be in business. And if they don't, what was on us? Because the kids that are coming out of high schools today do not have the job skills and job sets that manufacturers are looking for and business people are looking for. Bottom line, you can go up to anybody. There's manufacturing people in the room here, and I know there were a few before. All you have to do is ask them that question. Okay? And they hands down, they are deathly afraid of looking at the new people coming out of the marketplace. Because they don't have the skill sets. They don't even know how to interact. They don't even know what team building is. Just what Tony was talking about. I do think there's some shining lights. I really do. Vo-tech schools. That nasty word, vo-tech school. We really need to get parents, and this is a generational gap, which I don't think we're going to be able to solve in the next 2 generations, but let's hopefully we can do that, to get people to start to understand vo-tech schools. Technical training isn't a bad thing. Is not a bad thing. And I'll give you a perfect example. My 18-year-old, Alex, just graduated from Independence High School last year. He wanted to go to vo-tech school to understand woodworking, understand really housing construction. I'm sitting there going, go, please get the hell out. My wife, I gotta say this. The liberal Episcopalian princess from Pittsburgh was grown up with the mindset, you can't go to vo-tech school. They're bad people. Bad people, you can't go there. Oh, they dress different. They have different norms. Their parents are terrible. I can't have my kid do this. I'm like shooting her in the head, but I lost. Sometimes when you're married for so many years, you just have to act with it. Alex now is going to Penn Technical College in Williamsport. All you have to do is go to the ABC organization, which is American Builders and Contractors Association, and they basically camp out at the doorstep at graduation to hire these kids. They walk away with a technical degree, they walk away with a 2-year associate or a bachelor's degree. They are in demand. Those jobs are in demand. Walking out of that school, even though it cost me a fortune, a lot better than it was when I sent my daughter to Drexel. But he's going to walk away with a technical education, with certifications that he can walk right into the job market. And you know what his comment to me was? Dad, I really needed to go to vo-tech because I would have been about a year ahead of myself. vo-tech is not bad. Think about vo-tech in your travels. That is a great institution. We need to cultivate it and move it forward. And again, let me jump on the stimulus package again. We need to get dollars into the vo-techs to upgrade their facilities because they are the cutting edge for the manufacturing operations, and without having those components, we're teaching kids the old way how to do something. Okay? So, long and short of it, I'll get off and let Gary go next. We have some great opportunities in Bucks County. We have, again, we have a former steel site. Talk about redevelopment. We have a former steel site at the lower end of the county. It was a facility that started in the 50s. By 1990, the steel component was dead. We didn't do anything wrong, by the way. It was USX that did it wrong. Okay? They hate when I say this. They built an open hearth facility and they knew it wouldn't have a lifespan over 40 years. Duh. So they closed it down. Very progressive in thought process. It's now one of your premier heavy industrial parks in southeastern PA. 2 railroads, fantastic infrastructure for water and sewer, and it has a deep sea port. And the folks in Philadelphia don't want to hear that, but in Bucks County we have a deep sea port, okay, which doesn't have longshore and has steel workers working it. Another component of that. It's really an energy company, Dominion Gas. Over $500 million worth of investment to take gas and turn it into electricity for the power grid. You have AE Polysilicon. Talk about advanced technology, talk about green technology. Labor there before green technology got happy. There is a component where they're making silicon chips. We have Austin, which is, you younger guys aren't going to really know it, but us old ones will. They have dental implants. So you guys still rot your teeth away, don't worry about it. And we have another company there, which is Gamesa, the windmill company. They build these huge windmills that you see in central Pennsylvania and so forth for, again, green energy. There's an opportunity there. We also had an opportunity at the military base in Warminster. But I think our greatest asset right now is looking at the existing building space we have and redevelop it. And look at the new industries that I believe will help advance Bucks County into the future. And those industries are going to be the biotech, biomedical, pharmaceutical industries. And if you have any questions or you want additional information about Bucks County, bcedc.com. Real quick to go to information. Thank you.
Okay.
Don't say that.
All right, Bob. He's one of the guys. Oh, gosh, I got to take a deep breath. 30 minutes all stand up. I got to take a deep breath. Took all the oxygen out of the room. He's good. He's good. I've known this guy for a long time. I'm Gary Smith. I come from Chester County. Now, a little orientation. This is just down the tracks here, down there outside of, you get to Paoli. You're basically in Chester County. We have about 760 square miles, 73 local governments in Chester County, population just shy of 500,000. We have about 15,000 and growing businesses in our county. I do what Bob does in Chester County, and we do things a little different, even though we are just like universities and colleges or whatever else and companies, even though they think they all do something. We're all a little different because based on our personality, our style, our community, our needs, our wants, and our likes. And some politics. But all that said, that's what kind of makes up the organization. Like Bob's, my company is similar to his. His is 2 years older than mine. My company's 48 years. His is 51 years, aren't you? I'm 49.
51.
You're 51. I'm 49. Our company's 49. I'm older than 49. I've been there about 34 years and been doing this a long time. Grew up in Chester County. Son of a farmer. Still run our family farm. And 112-acre farm and 45 head of cows I take care of every day before I go to work. But in Chester County, just like a lot of our communities out our way, we're not a government organization. Our company is been about 37 employees on staff, about a $15 million operating budget. None of it comes from the public sector. There are some grants and some miscellaneous things, but we're not a line item in someone's budget. So we're like any company. We've got to go out and earn our revenues, provide services, do things that are going to bring the value to the companies that we serve. And that's fundamentally what we're in business to do, add value. So the things that we do, we're governed by a board of directors. These are people who volunteer their time, come in and kind of grow businesses in our county, understand what businesses need, create programs. We have lots of different kinds of organizations. There's like 8 companies that are kind of inside our development corporation that do specific things. And we basically make transactional business happen. Entrepreneurs come, okay, we'll pass on that deal. And we pass on probably a fair amount of deals. I won't respond to site selectors because our philosophy in Chester County is a little different. Until this economic softening that we have, and our unemployment right now is about 5.2. But we were as low as 2.1, and even below that. So we were a net importer of labor every day, and still today, even with this economic decline that we're in, we still net import more people who work in our county on a daily basis than afford to sleep there, okay? It's an expensive county to live in, and it's a very expensive county to perhaps to do business in. So we're not going to be attractive for all kinds of people. So how are you probably saying, how can you do economic development, do all these things, have an organization as large as it is, and financially get the support from the business community to do these services? When you're in an unemployment with 10%, people throw money at economic development people because that's what we're supposed to do. We've got a crisis. The house is on fire. We've got an economy that's terrible. And what are you going to do to fix it? That's what people historically have done. We've taken a whole different reverse perspective of that. We basically are, as I said earlier, we try to grow companies. And I think some of the successes, because we've had the longevity, and that's like any company or any person, the older and longer you get, you build some wisdom in your thinking and you make good decisions, hopefully based on past performance. We've looked at companies, for example, that are sort of household international names, like QVC. Joe Siegel was an entrepreneur that came to see us years ago. Like many companies, Bob and I talk to every day. Just mentioned several this morning. That's what we do every day. We talk to these people. We help QVC become what it is today. We looked at Vanguard systems. Again, Mr. Bogle got fired from the Wellington Fund when he started that company, came to see us, networked, said, I have an idea, I want to start a building. I started a business. We had an excess building that we did for a PETA loans, a multi-tenant building. We said, gee, we'll get you some free space in here to get you started. If you do this and that was a deal we made. So as Bob mentioned, we're transaction driven. So those companies, Vanguard, QVC, Cephalon, Centacor, I mean, you just go on and on the list. These are our huge regional employers for our region, and we still today, with the thousands of jobs that those companies have, provide services to them. So it may not be borrowing money, okay? They can borrow money today in many more capacities, but we're still doing the workforce development training for those companies. We're providing a lot of resources to them in international opportunities and a host of other things that I could get into. So our philosophy is really growing companies and trying to help that. So with that thought in mind, and I mentioned earlier that the biggest decision making that goes on and where companies are going to continue to invest, and that's an important part because, again, we're a net importer job, so when QVC or Vanguard or any of the other 14,998 companies come up to me and say, why should I stay here and reinvest for this next generation of growth I'm going to have in a county that doesn't have workforce? It's a fair question, okay? Now, as Bob said, this is a breathing time in our economy, and we're catching up with that. So what we've been able to do is really go back into the schools. Mentioned earlier, Bob mentioned it, and other speakers also in the previous panel. Going back into early education, we have many programs we do with the schools. And we have developed some programs that we have really helped outreach. We have won some national awards by the president on some of our programs, which we're proud of. And just to give you an example of some of these. One of the things that cuts through all companies in workforce, obviously, is technology, okay? I don't care if it's a manufacturer, if it's a farm application, whatever company, technology cuts through everything. So we said, okay, that's a core competency that all companies need. So let's spend a lot of time and energy figuring out exactly how we're going to work in that. So we start these various industry partnerships that came up. We bring like companies together, and they compete in the marketplace, and they compete for labor. Number one, they compete for labor. It was 1997. We formed the first, we didn't know what an industry partnership was. They're very common today within some of the service providers here, but we did this for our technology companies. We had a workforce summit because we were labor deficient then. We created them, they all said, if you guys, and they were stealing from each other and all kinds of things went on. We got them into a room, we signed a tree, maybe Tony, you remember this? Mike. Tony? Yeah, Mike was there, Mike Bahides, Joe Holden. We got them into a room, and we said, if we can promise you folks we'll increase the labor force in your particular discipline, would you stay and continue to invest and work with us? Tell us what you need. We'll work with the educators. Again, we're a broker of services. We're a facilitator, and we'll continue to do that. We've got 1 minute. I see the bosses here. So, but what we're saying, what we're trying to do here is basically I'll summarize by saying the whole idea is working with the industry partnerships, and we have done that with whether it's agriculture. We have one on Smart Energy Initiative. These are multiple county organizations. Smart Energy Initiative. We have one on technology, healthcare, working with education in the schools. Just a host of and manufacturing core competencies. Working with these companies, bring them together, develop solutions to their problems to make sure that they're going to continue to grow and stay in our local economy and be good citizens. That's 1 minute. All right, thank you.